Hi, I'm Kayla, and today I'm going to show you a revolutionary early reading curriculum. Your kids are absolutely going to love the Early Reading Trio from MobyMax. First, I'm going to take a few minutes to show you what makes this curriculum so unique. You start kids off with the Early Words module, where students will learn a set of 4 words. Students get to move the letters to complete the word, and it makes learning the words a lot of fun, as you can see. Then students read a story and get to complete sentences in that story with the words they just learned. But the real fun begins when students get to write their very own picture book story. Kids love it. Having the module go from learning the words to practicing them in a sentence and then writing a story makes the Early Reading Trio the most revolutionary early reading package of its kind. As great as the 3 modules work together, the modules are powerful separately as well. A student may just want to do the writing module or practice their words or stories, and you can do that. It's your choice to give the students what they need. Now, let me show you how the MobyMax Early Reading Trio works. When the modules are linked, students will begin with Early Words. Early Words teaches students how to decode letters and sounds. Students are presented with part of a word and it is read phonetically, and then the entire word is read. The student then gets to drag the correct letter to complete the word. Here, the student hears a-d, then hears dad. The student then must choose the correct letter to complete the word. But watch what happens when the student chooses the incorrect letters. This is how Moby teaches the student which letter is correct. And when the student gets the answer correct, they will hear the word sounded out again. Students practice the words in groups of 4. So, after they get 4 answers correct in Early Words, they automatically transition to Early Stories to practice these 4 words they just learned. In Early Stories, students will integrate the 4 words they just learned into sentences of a story. The module will first read the sentence aloud with the correct word. Here, the student would hear, "Dad is big." And when the student clicks on any of the word choices, they will hear the word read aloud. So the student hears, will, buys, and then the correct choice, dad. This way, students hear and see which word is the correct choice. Once the student goes through and practices with the same 4 words they learned in Early Words, Moby will read the sentences aloud to the student again. All this reinforcement greatly helps the student learn to read. After Early Stories, students then move on to Early Writing. The Early Writing module is always the most exciting for students because they get to create their very own picture book story. Students have a bank of words to choose from to create their story. And, as you'll see, it includes the 4 words they have been practicing since the Early Words module. As the students drag words into their story, the word will be read aloud, helping them create sentences that make sense. Here, when we drag dad into the story, the student will hear dad. Once the student has created their story and added a picture, they will hear the story they just created read aloud. At a glance, you will be able to see how your students are progressing as they work through each of the 3 modules. Here in the snapshot, you can see when the student practiced last, at home, or at school, their score, which is the percentage answered correctly on the first try, fluency, which is the percentage answered correctly within 5 seconds, and the time spent either over the past week or 30 days. If you click the gear icon, Here is where you can choose to either link all of the early reading subjects or have students work on them independently. For early words and stories, you have a few settings that you can adjust. First, you can adjust the amount of time that a student has to answer a question to be considered fluent. If a student is considered fluent in a word, they will not continue to see that word in the module. Mobi automatically sets this at 5 seconds, but you have the freedom to adjust it to whatever your students need. You can also adjust the number of words a student should practice each day. Students get to see the goal that their teacher has set for them when they visit their Cool Stuff tab and click on Goals. Here the student can see their daily goals for early words, early stories, and early writing. When you click on Progress, you can see the percent of the module completed by each student. And lastly, you can check the Print Dashboards box and then click Print. Then you will get a breakdown of student progress, a great resource to update parents or take to teacher meetings. You can also access this information from the snapshot when you click on a student name. With the MobiMax Early Reading Trio, your students are sure to develop early reading skills quickly.